Alright, so I'm going to start working on this, and I see that I have my project 1 is what I called my G code, and I also have another one down here as my basic programming template. Now my programming template is something that you've already made or you will be making shortly, but either your instructor will provide it for you or it's something you've learned as we've gone along. But it basically is a template of the 4 formats that we use. Now the 4 formats are program startup, tool end, tool startup, and program end formats. So they're all on here, and I can take these and copy and paste them into a program. On my other side, I've done that already. So I've made a program for this CNC part that actually goes through and it puts in my safety lines, does all my stuff, and hopefully cuts the part correctly, because if it doesn't, I will have to make some major changes here. But here's the code. I've got a couple can cycles in here. You'll see I have a G81 for my spot drill and a G81 for my drill. So hopefully that works as well. So back to my Vericut project. What I need to do is put this project 1 into here. So I already had put it in here. I'm going to delete it. But what you're normally going to see is that you're going to have an NC Programs spot, which is in the magenta color, and you need to double click that to add it. Now at this point I can take and I can add my file to it. Now I had saved it to my desktop. Now you probably should be saving it to a folder with the Vericut project. So I hit that project 1, it's just that NC code that you wrote, and you hit OK. My mistake. Desktop, project 1, and I have to hit this arrow over to actually select it. And then I hit OK. If you don't see this in here, that means you didn't select it like I had the issue. So I just went back in, double clicked it again, and added it. So at this point I have the project in here, and I have the NC code. Now I want to go over and I want to use this button here on the timeline that says Reset Model. So I want to hit Reset just to make sure it's looking at the correct program. Up on my bunch of buttons up here, there's a ton of them, but I'm not worried about too many of them. The only one I'm really looking for is this View NC Program button. I click that, and it opens this all the code, so I can look at the code here as well. It has a little blue arrow, and that blue arrow is where it is in the program in simulation. Now we haven't simulated anything yet, so that little blue arrow really hasn't shown anything. So I'm going to pull this down here a ways. And I'm going to move it over a little bit. I can click on this button here, which is single step, or I can run the whole program. Well, I want to single step through it. And you'll see as I single step, that blue arrow moves. So I can watch the code as it runs. So I see my tool come down. I see it move as I'm going. It turns the coolant on, plunges in the Z, feeds across my part, turns off the coolant, lifts up the head of the machine. Now you couldn't see it because of the way my simulation's working. Optional stop, changes tool here, goes to the location, brings the tool down to 100 above my part, turns on the coolant. It's going to execute the cycle now in spot drill 110 deep. So it did it. It's going to move over to 2.75 and do the same thing over there. Cancel the G code, or cancel the cycle, turns off the coolant, brings the machine home, and I'm going to keep walking through tool 3, drills the hole, drills the other hole, tool 4, you'll see this gets my spot drill, brings my tool over here, plunges, and now this one's going to be doing the arc. So cut the C, lifts up, moves over, plunges, cuts the N, lifts up, moves over, cuts the other C. Now it should send my machine home. rewind the program, and I've got a completed part. So it's got the simulation of everything that it did. Now if anything was wrong in here, that's fine. We can always edit it. We cannot edit it in here. What I need to do is reset the program. Yep, reset simulation. And then I can do, up top here, I can go to Edit, NC Program, and it will open up a different file where I can now edit this program. Now in here, let's say I wanted to change just something simple, like I wanted, now let's make something spot less deep maybe. So I'm going to go to the spot drill and tell it instead of going Z negative 110, I want to go Z 50 thousandths deep. So you'll see if I make changes, anything that I delete turns up in this little red with a line through it, and anything I add comes in this blue color with a line under it. Then when I hit save, it will update it, and now that's good. So I can close this window, and I could verify this again if I wanted. So I could then reset the model and step through. Now it should spot a little less deep. So now you'll see my spotted hole is less deep. I'll just hit play so it runs all the way through. And that would be how you would make an edit. Now if I zoom in a little here, you'll see I no longer have a chamfer on the top of my hole. So I want to change that. I want to go back to my old way. Reset it. Edit the NC program. Change my tool to negative 0.125 maybe, and save it. Close that out. Now I can reset it again, play it, and I now have a chamfer on my holes. So you can always do any editing right in here. Once you get the program in here, you can now do all your editing in here, make changes. So that is a basic introduction to the Vericut. Hopefully this helps. It is a pretty time-consuming process to actually know Vericut, but if you just go through the basic steps, it'll help a lot in your programming class. Hope this helps.